Am I the whole for cutting my family off after my stepmom cut my daughter's eyelashes? This still doesn't feel real to me. I never imagined I'd be in a position where I'd feel so betrayed, so protective, and so enraged all at once, and by people who are supposed to love and protect us. I'm here because I honestly need to know if I've gone too far, or if cutting them off was the only thing I could do. I'm a 28-year-old single mom. My daughter Marie is 8, and she is my world. I've raised her mostly on my own, working 2 jobs to make ends meet, doing everything I can to make sure she has a good life. It hasn't always been easy. I've struggled, and there were times I felt like I was barely holding everything together. That's where my dad, 60, and stepmom, 70, came in. For the past several years, they've helped me out a lot, especially with Marie. She would spend every other weekend at their place, and during the work week, they'd watch her, so I didn't have to rely on daycare. In many ways, they became a second set of caregivers for her. She was really close to them, especially my dad, and I was grateful for the help. I never thought twice about leaving her in their care. I trusted them. That trust is now completely shattered. A few weeks ago, Marie came home from a weekend visit with them, and I immediately noticed something was wrong. One of her eyes looked irritated, pink, swollen, and her eyelashes were completely gone on that side. Not thinned out, not broken.
Cut.
Straight across. I was stunned. I asked her what happened, and at first, she was hesitant, but eventually she opened up. According to my stepmom, Marie woke up with pink eye and had crust in her eye that made it hard for her to open it. She told me she used a warm washcloth to clean it, and that was that. But that didn't explain the cut eyelashes. I asked her directly about that, and she got weirdly quiet, then brushed it off like it was no big deal. It's not that serious, she said. Her eye was bothering her, so I took care of it. But Marie told me a very different story. She told me that when the washcloth didn't work, stepmom got frustrated, grabbed a pair of scissors, and cut her eyelashes off. Marie said she told her not to do it, but stepmom ignored her. And here's the part that broke me. Marie said she stopped resisting because grandma had scissors near my face, and I got scared. I sat there holding my daughter, feeling this mix of heartbreak and rage. I couldn't believe someone who claimed to love her would treat her that way, especially while she was vulnerable and sick. I immediately tried to call my stepmom to get her side of the story, but she didn't answer. So I sent her a message, trying to be calm and mature, asking her to call me when she could. I didn't want to fly off the handle. I just wanted to understand what the hell happened. In the meantime, I called my dad, hoping maybe he had been there and could explain something that made this feel less awful. He had no idea what I was talking about. He was just as shocked as I was and furious. I thought, okay, at least he'll take this seriously. When stepmom finally did call me back, she didn't even try to have a civil conversation. She immediately started screaming, not just at me, but at my daughter, calling her a liar, a terrible person, and delusional. I hung up. I wasn't going to let anyone talk to my child that way. But I'll be honest, I did go back to Marie and ask her again, gently, if what she told me was the truth. She didn't waver. She didn't stutter. She repeated everything exactly the same. And I believed her. I stood up for her. Then the messages started coming. Stepmom texted me horrible things about Marie, how she was manipulative, how she should have just blamed someone else for what happened, and how she was a horrible child. I was stunned. This woman, who had spent years pretending to love my daughter like her own grandchild, was now completely unhinged. I told her I was choosing to believe my daughter and blocked her number. The next day, she showed up at my house unannounced. No warning, no courtesy. She banged on the door, demanding I force Marie to talk to her alone. I was already on edge, but I still asked Marie if she was okay with that, and she said no. I wasn't going to make her. That sent stepmom into another meltdown. She started shouting at me in my doorway, saying I needed to discipline Marie and tell her she had to talk to her. I told her absolutely not. I told her she had no right to show up like this, demand anything from us, and that she needed to leave immediately. I was done. Then, because I had forgotten to block her on Facebook, I got another message from her later that day. This time, she said she was just going to tell Marie to lie, to say someone else had cut her eyelashes so stepmom wouldn't get in trouble. She admitted, flat out, that her entire plan was to manipulate my daughter into covering for her. She actually thought I'd be okay with that. At that point, I called my dad again, hoping that maybe this would be the final straw for him. I told him everything, including what she wrote in the Facebook message. I even sent him screenshots so he couldn't pretend not to believe me. But somehow he chose her. He said he didn't believe Marie's version of the story, that maybe she misunderstood what happened, that stepmom was just trying to help. I told him she was no longer welcome near my daughter, but that he was still welcome to come see her on his own. He refused. He said if she wasn't allowed, he wouldn't come either. Then he went around telling our extended family and even my in-laws that I was being unreasonable, that I was cutting them off without reason, and that I was keeping him from seeing Marie. That started another argument. Eventually, I had to block him too. Now they're both out there trying to spin the story, playing the victims while I'm painted as the dramatic, angry daughter who's punishing them over nothing. Meanwhile, all I've done is protect my child, a child who is scared and hurt and is now being gaslit by people who are supposed to be her family. So, am I the whole? For cutting them off? For protecting Marie at all costs, even if that means losing my father in the process? Because I'd do it again in a heartbeat.